Lesson 5.1% increase and decrease. This will be for page 144. Here I have numbers 1 through 14 ready to go. So in this section, we're going to be figuring out, like on number 1, it says the price goes from $5 to $8, and we need to find out by what percent did this increase. And then on some of these, we're going to have some decimals percentage. So we're going to have to round to the nearest percent. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to set up a problem. It's a division problem. On the numerator, it's the amount of change. In the denominator, it's the original amount. So check this out. Let's on number 1 here. We started at $5 and we went to $8. So on this one, our amount of change, well, how much did we go up by? On this one, we went up by $3. So this is going to be 3 over, and our original amount was 5. 3 over 5, and we need to write this as a percent. So what we could do is we could say, well, I'm going to make this 100ths. So 5, well, that's times 20 to make 100. 3 times 20 is going to be 60. So this will be 60%. This went through a 60% increase. The price here went up by 60%. In other words, whatever 60% of 5 was, we increased by that. 60% of 5 is 3, and we went up by 3. For number 2, the original amount of students went from 20 students to 30 students. So we went up by 10, and our original amount was 20. So what we need to do here is how many 100ths is this going to equal? Well, that's times 5. So this is times 5. We had a 50% increase. We took half of these students and we added that to make 30 students. So half of 20 was 50%. And we went up by 50% of 20. We went up by 10 students. Number 3. This one I'm going to set it up similarly, but we're going to switch the way we're solving it. I'm not going to use these equivalent fractions. On these ones, it was like super easy to do that. But for the next 5, we don't have really compatible denominators with 100ths. So we're going to have to change up how we do this. For this one, we're going from 86 books to 150 books. So our original amount is 86 books. And how much are we changing by? Well, let's see, 150 minus 86. I've got regroup that 10 for that 5 makes it a 4. This is a 4, and 14 minus 8 is 6. So we're going up by 64 books, and our original amount was 86. So at this point, you can probably pull out a calculator, or you can open up your calculator, or when you get to these, when you get to these practice problems, you're going to have to do 64 divided by 86. Now, when I do that, I'm going to write it over here, 0.744186, right? Now, if you remember in the last section, we wrote decimals as percents, and what we had to do is we took these first 2 digits. This is 74 hundredths, so this is 74%. Now, you will have to double check this digit right here, because if this is 5 or larger, this would actually be 75%. But in this case, that's not what it is. So on this one, we're going from 349 to 389. That is up by 40 cents. So up by 0.40 is our change. Our original amount was 349. So 0.4 divided by 3.49 gives us 0.114, which would mean over 2 spots. So it's 11.4%, rounds to 11. The next one, Going from 13 friends to 14 friends. You gained a friend. We're going up by 1. Our original amount was 13. So 1 divided by 13 is, here, I'm going to write it underneath this problem. We get 0.0769. So we'd move our decimal over 1 time, 2 times. So this looks like it's 7%. However, there is a 6 here, which is going to round this 7 up. So this is 8%. Number 6, the amount of change, we're going up by 11 from 5 to 16. 11, original amount was 5, so 11 divided by 5, I get 2.2. Remember, after that, though, we've got to move our decimal 1 time, 2 times, add a 0, I get 220%. For number 7, Nathan usually drinks 36 ounces of water per day. So normally it's 36. That's his original amount. He read that he should drink 64 ounces of water per day. If he starts drinking 64 ounces, what is the percent increase? Round to the nearest percent. So he's going from 36. Now he's going to start doing 64. Well, first we got to do, well, what's the change? 64 minus 36. How many more is he drinking now? Well, 14. 6 turns into a 5. He's got 28 more every time. So 28 divided by 36, that's 0.77777777. So it's going to be 78%. Because that was 0.77777, right? Decimal over twice, and this 7 rounds this 7 up to an 8. 78%. The next one, we're kind of doing the exact same thing, except we're decreasing this time. So instead, we're doing it the exact same way, though. So the amount of change, 80 minus 64, we're going down by 16. So our change is 16 out of 80. 16 divided by 80 gives us 0.2. Move our decimal over 2 times. We've got 20%. So on these, it's the exact same thing. We're just going to have to subtract the other way around to figure out what we're changing by. The amount of change is divided by the original amount still. So on this one, we've got to figure out, we're going from 95 degrees Fahrenheit to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, 95 minus 68, that's a change of 27 degrees. And our original amount was 95. So 27 divided by 95 gives us 28%. Gives us 0.284. So we move our decimal, 28%. The next one, from 90 to 45. Well, we're going down on that one by 45 out of 90. And I know that this is a half, so that's 50%. I don't even have to divide that one. I know that 45/90 is a half, and I know that a half is 50%. The next one, 145 to 132. So we'll do 145 minus 132. My change is 13. My original amount was 145. Divided by 145, I get 0.089. So moving my decimal over 2 times, it's to here, but that 9, I've got to round this up to a 9 because this is a larger number than 4. This is 9, so this will be 9%. 64 photos to 21 photos. Well, 64 minus 21, that's a change of 43. The original amount was 64. So 43 divided by 64. 43 divided by 64. Don't type it wrong. We get 6718. So 0.67 gives us 67%. This went down by more than half of whatever this was. And the last one, from 16 bagels to 0 bagels. Our original amount is 16, and we changed by 16. So this would be 16 over 16 equals 1. We got to move our decimal over 2 times. We get 100%. We decreased by 100% of what this was. Well, 100% of 16 was 16. We went down by 16. So our percent decrease is 100%. Number 14. Over the summer, Jackie played video games 3 hours per day. When school began in the fall, she was only allowed to play video games for half an hour a day. What is the percent decrease? So originally we went for 3 hours, and now we only go for 0.5 hours. We only go for a half. So what is 0.5 divided by 3? We get 0.1666, 0.16666. So this will be 17% because that rounds up. I'm going to open up the next one for the next 7 or 8 problems. Here we go. On these, we're going to have a little bit of an extra step. We're kind of doing what we just did before, but we're gonna do them in reverse. So for number 15, we need to find the new amount given the original amount and the percent of change. So on this one, it's going to increase by 10%. We're starting with $9, and we're going to increase by 10%. Well, what we need to do is we need to find out, first off, what is 10% of 9? So 10% of $9, well, what we have to do is we've got to multiply here. 10% is 0.10 of 9. So you can, if we're using calculators, 0.1 times 9 equals 0.90. We're increasing by 0.90. We're increasing by 10% of $9. So this will be $9.90. So on this, the first thing we needed to do was figure out what 10% of 9 was. And you may know the trick. If you're doing 10% of 9, we just move the decimal over. So this one, it's going up by that amount. So we just need to add that 0.90 plus our original amount, and there you get it. Another thing we could also do is this number here is 100% and 10% of $9, because we're increasing by 10%, and we're still going to include our 100%, our full amount at the beginning. So we could also do 9 times 100 not 100%, 110%, which would then be 9 times 1.1, because that's what it is as a decimal. You move your decimal to here, 2 spots left, which would give you 9.9. Let's look at number, I'm going to jump to number 18, and I want to explain it again as we just did, because it's another increase one, and then we'll do the decrease. We'll do 18 and then 20, and then we'll do the decreases together. So for number 18, we're starting with 28 members, and we're going to increase by 50%. So that means we're going to start with 100% of the members, and we're going to increase by 50, not 5, by 50% of those members as well. So this is a total of 150% of our original members. So we're starting with 28. Well, what we need to do is this is times 28 then. Multiply our original amount by 150%. So we would do 28 times 150% is 1.5 or 1.50, because you move your decimal spot 2 spots to the left. We can also say, well, we're starting with 28, and then we're adding half of 28, 50% of 28. That's 14. So 28 plus 14 is, well, let's write it out. 28 plus 14, because we don't want to make a mistake. 12, 1, 42. So we get 42 members. And if we were to do it this way, where I know I'm going to use 100%, because I'm increasing, so I'm going to have my original amount, and then I'm going to add another 50%. We can just find out what 28 times 1.5, and we get 42. There it is, 42. So you can do these either way. For number 20, we're going to do it this same way. We're doing 130% increase. So we're going to start with 100%. And we're going to increase by 130%. So that's a total of 230%. So we can do 810 times 230% is 2.3. And we're going to get, well, 810 times 2.3 is 1,863. 1,863 songs. Don't forget your labels on these. These are word problems, even though there's only like just one label here. But you're starting with 810 songs, you're increasing by 130%. Another thing so let me see, 1863. So the other way, though, would have been, well, let's find out what 130% is. But so you do 1.3 times 810. So 130%, or 130 out of 100 of my total, my whole was 1863. Well, that'd be 130% that way of 810 is 1053, and then we just need to add our 810 to that, and we get 1863. But really, I want you to think about it. If it's an increase, if it's a percent increase, well, we're going to start with 100% and add this extra percent. So this is 150% of 28. And this one, if we're doing 130% increase, so this will be 230% of 810. And this first one we did was 110% of 9. So if we're increasing, oh, actually, look, number 21 is also an increase. So let's do that one too. Adam currently runs about 20 miles per week, and he wants to increase by 30%. If he's increasing, he's going to start with his 100%, and he's going to add 30% more. So he's going to have 130% of 20. So 1.3 times 20. 1.3 times 20. We get 26 miles. That is how many miles Adam will run per week. Now let's talk about the percent decrease ones. I'm going to change my color so we don't get mixed up. Let's go with some blue here. Percent decrease. Well, remember when we did percent increase, we did 100% plus that amount. When we do percent decrease, we're going to do 100% minus this amount, minus 25%. So on this one, we're going to, if we start with 48 cookies and we want a 25% decrease, well, 120 or 100 minus 25 is 75%. So on this one, we need to do 75% of 48. So we're going to do 0.75 times 48. 48 times 0.75, that'll be 36 cookies. Number 17, we're also decreasing. We're going to do a 20% decrease, which means we're going to go down from 100%. We're going to subtract 20%. So our remainder, or the amount remaining here, is going to be 80%. So we need to do 80% of 340. So we'll do 0.80. We move our decimal to here. Move our decimal over 2 spots. 0.80 times 340. We get 272 pages. For the last one, number 19, we're going to do a 4% decrease. So 100 minus 4 is 96% of 29,000. So you just type it in your calculator. We're going to do 0.96 times 29,000. We get $27,840. Now, if you're doing a decrease, your number should always make sure it's less than this number because we went down. If you're doing an increase, make sure it's larger than this number. For 22, what process do you use to find the percent change of a quantity? So when we looked at, this is from like number 1 through 14, what did we do? Well, we first find the amount change, or the amount of change, and then we set that up as a division problem. So then divide by the original amount. So on those number 1 through 14, what you needed to do is find out the amount of change and divide it by the original amount. For 15 through 21, you need to decide, is it an increase or a decrease? And then do you add that or subtract that to the original 100%? And then change it to a decimal. For any percents to decimal, you just move the decimal over 2 times, and then you just multiply it.